Curry, and you're listening to The Morning Roast with Bonte and The Butcher on 95.7 The Game.
My name is Furl. I'm the owner of that building. I'm a stoner and I'm chilling.
I want to say something, but I'm not going to do it.
Say it.
Nope, not going to do it.
Why don't we bring to air the conversation we were just having off air?
You can.
All right. What is the greatest San Francisco rap album of all time? One album by itself. Bonte, what do you think
I'm going
yours
Hustle
is?
Continues.
You're going to go Hustle Continues, San Quinn.
I got to stand up for my Philmonian.
Okay.
Or you could go Rapid Forte.
I think it's, in terms of best album start to finish, and in terms of like appeal across the board, I'm going to go Rapid Forte, Don't Fight the Feeling. I also think 11.5 A1 Yola has thrown their name and their hat into the mix, and you got to have obviously the RBL Posse, Ruthless by Law.
Not bad.
It's a great album.
Not bad. SFA Drummer, RBL Posse, lessons to be learned.
See,
Larry June out the trunk. Larry June's his catalog is actually starting to grow.
Does Nicotina have a spot here? Daiquiri Factory? Hate You with a Passion?
I'm still going Hustle Continues, man. That's mine, personal.
Okay.
That's my personal. By the way, that Mac Dre song, where's that rank on the Mac Dre catalog?
I think for most people it's probably number one.
Yeah, see, that's.
But I don't think it's one. But it is number one for most people.
Probably the most popular, I would say.
It's the most popular.
It's like when people play Too Short's Blow Your Whistle. It's like, bro, I think his greatest album is either Get In Where You Fit In or Cocktails, but no one else does. So
I do. I don't. I think that song that you just played. I don't even think it's in the top 10
for Mac Dre.
For Mac Dre.
So what is your number one Mac Dre song?
I love Yokin. Boom, boom, Grown Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites.
The Al Boo Boo album.
The Al Boo
Boo album
is great. It's the first song on there. Sometimes you can't even go past it. You rewind and go back and listen to it again. I just don't think that last song was top 10 in Mac Dre. He's got so many hits. So many. Can't Know, Brother. Now, it's something different.
I think his best verse is on the Rompilation, Eternal. Dun, 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 dun. That, I think, is his best verse of all time.
I love his verse on Can't Know, Brother.
Okay.
And you can find it on his greatest hits, where he says, real chick from a mile away. And I will spit when she smile at Dre. Remember that one? That
of course
verse?
I know.
Yeah, that
I
verse.
think his GOAT song is Since '84, for being real. It's just that guitar just in the beginning is just so sick.
Anyway, always fun talking.
I need you like Jaws need a raincoat.
The reason I started thinking about this is because I know Gabe Kapler has been putting a lot of music at the beginning of the year, because we're going to have him on here in about, 8 minutes. He was putting a ton of rap stuff out there in terms of kind of arguing with people what are the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah, he replied to me. I was. Someone could get into that with Gabe Kapler. The Giants lost yesterday to Minnesota, 7-1. How we feeling about the Giants? I did want to bring this up. Thinking about it on the way in, Brandon Crawford, and how it's ending for him. And it doesn't even feel like, I think the Giants are maybe coming to a conclusion. And maybe there's a conversation. Maybe we could ask Kapler, are they getting to a point where it's not even Brandon Crawford's job anymore? Where it's like, Casey Schmidt, you're the starting shortstop. And Crawford's coming off the bench. Are we there with that?
I mean, weren't we kind of here a couple of years ago before the resurgence? Well, I mean, this is Gabe Kapler was the guy who removed him as a defensive substitute out of the game in the first ever game he managed in the 2020 season.
And he was not happy.
And then, he had an 2020. 2021 was awesome. And then you look at his baseball reference page, or his card, as we used to say back in the day, and 2021 does feel like an outlier. He got the extension, which he deserved, he earned, and I wanted him around. I think he brings a lot of value being in that dugout. I don't know about value on the field at this point, but he's still, even in a diminished phase, he's still, even if Casey's your number one shortstop, he's still going to get starts at shortstop.
Yeah.
Like he is.
But should he be the starting shortstop?
Right now, their best defensive lineup, I believe, is Estrada at second, Schmidt at short, J.D. Davis at third. And I did not think that would be a sentence I would say out loud, because J.D. Davis has taken huge strides forward, and so has Estrada as defensive players.
See, Mark Graves makes a good point here. Crawford is now a one-day-a-week player now. maybe a 2-day player a week. You know what I'm saying? Like I was watching him yesterday, the errors, and he just doesn't look right. He's battling injuries. He came into the season injured. He just came off the IL. It just feels like we're seeing the last of Brandon Crawford. The last of it. Now,
how do you feel about that?
It was going to come at some point. Think about it. I think Brandon Crawford has overachieved in his career. When you think about it, what are the expectations for Brandon Crawford coming in to the Giants farm system? I think he has exceeded expectations.
Where do you have him in your lifetime as a Giant? Like, is he a top 10 Giant in your lifetime?
I don't know if he's top 10. My lifetime, just right off the rip.
Yeah. Just no order. Just off the top of your head. When you think of Sarah, this is
Bonds,
not formal.
Posey, Matt Williams,
3,
Kent.
4. You got him higher than those guys. I mean, you got those guys higher than him.
Will Clark.
Okay, I would agree on some of these.
And then you got the pitching aspect. Kane, Lincecum, Bumgarner. Man, even Billy Swift wasn't around too long enough.
Yeah.
You could argue and put Woody in that top 10.
Oh, I love Woody. Woody's one of my favorite
Brady Crawford
pitchers of all time.
Then you got Rob Nin, you got Brian Wilson, you got Rob Beck. Hell, you got Robbie Thompson. You got some players.
I know.
Brandon Belt.
I got Crawford over Belt, but that's
a lot of people
personal
put Brandon
preference.
Belt over
Crawford.
Crawford.
I know, and that's personal preference. I think he's a top 10 guy in my lifetime. I do. I think he's earned that. I would say that his body of work is more comprehensive than Matt Cain's, though Matt Cain's highs were higher. Matt Williams, I love Matt Williams, and he means so much to me. And I think his best years were better than Crawford's, but I look at body of work and what Crawford means as a guy who grew up as a Giant. That means something to me. Like, it really does. And playing the shortstop position, just because that's like one of my favorite spots, like that has even more value to me. I never thought I'd see somebody be more of a guy that I love, because Richie Aurilia was my guy. I love Richie Aurilia. Richie Aurilia was my guy. And Crawford jumped him, and I didn't think I would have that happen. I love Brandon Crawford. It is sad to see him go out like this, but like, dude, he's had an unbelievable career. And if they even keep him around next year, just to have as a guy in the dugout, I'm not going to be mad at them. This ain't like some of the other sports where the financial restrictions can prohibit you from keeping a guy like him on the roster.
This is it for him. I think we're seeing the last.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. It feels like it. JT Snow. Yeah, I forgot about JT Snow. JT Snow's good.
Well, I've got JT Snow on my list over Brandon Belt.
Oh, not even close. I don't even think there's an argument.
But I'm jaded on Belt, but that's fine.
No, I'm not jaded on Belt. I just thought JT Snow was a better overall first baseman.
Like, I have Jason Schmidt in my top 10. Schmidt was a top 10 Giant for me in my lifetime. His highs were as high as anyone else's highs.
He was good. He was really good. I was shocked how good he was when he came over to the Giants.
Bro, he was amazing. Jason Schmidt, the Jason Schmidt years, whoo!
Would you say Crawford exceeded expectations with the Giants?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I thought he'd be like a 4 or 5 year player. You know, we had like Brian Bocock,
right.
and who was the other guy who was playing shortstop? Cody Ransom. You know what I mean? And Emmanuel Burris, and some of these like random middle infielders that never materialized.
He's stuck, man. He had some big moments too in the playoffs. Big moments. Let's get to Will M. Marin. Will M. Marin, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Will.
Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to say real quick, the best Mac Dre song is either Not My Job or Doing What I Do. Just go back and listen to those. And some of the lyrics in that is absolute fire and ahead of their time. That's all I'm going to say. And another Giant that I have above Crawford, no disrespect, but he's one of the most underrated and underappreciated Giants, and all he did was come in and deal for us, is my boy Jason Schmidt. 96-mile-an-hour over-the-top cheddar with a curveball that fell off of the table. That guy was so underappreciated, and I miss him every day.
Totally agree. If he pitches another time in that Marlins series, we don't lose.
Yeah, well,
in 03.
Him and Alu got into it over that one, right?
Yep.
And I think people don't like him because he signed with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but I agree. That I agree with.
But he was an absolute pumpkin with the Dodgers, though, so I'm willing to overlook that.
He was terrible. Those Giants years. When he got traded,
it happened. Give me some of those years.
It happened. I was like, oh, my God.
Are you looking at it right now?
Yeah, 13-8, 17-5, 18-7, 12-7, 11-9. Let's look at the ERA. 3.39, 3.45, 2.34, 3.20.
2.35.
Then he had the 4.40 ERA, did the 3.6 in 2006 with the strikeout numbers, 196, 208, 251, 165, 180. He was a hawk. Remember, he was in the Braves system, too. That was crazy about the Jason
What
Schmidt
was
thing.
the deal that they got Schmidt? What was that deal?
It was they got the Giants.
Armando Rios?
Yeah, it was Armando Rios and Ryan Vogelsong to the
Vogelsong.
Pirates, and then we got Schmidt and then John Vanderwall.
John Vanderwall.
Probably the most lopsided trade in favor of the Giants.
John Vanderwall. That's a name I haven't heard in forever. If
like-
you say John Vanderwall, I immediately go Desi Wilson. I don't know why. My brain does that.
No, I don't. I just go John Vanderwall.
Well,
I go John Vanderwall there too.
But Desi Wilson and him were in the system simultaneously.
I know, but
those were names that I read on like Giants Pipeline.
Right.
Old school internets when you used to go to like McCovey Chronicles back in the day.
That was a great deal for the Giants.
God, what
Remember,
great deal.
Rios' first game, after the trade, was in San Francisco, and the dude got hurt in the first inning. I think that was the end of his career or something. That trade could not have been more lopsided in favor of the Giants.
Yeah, Rios. Remember, he got popped in the minors for taking steroids.
He was number one.
He was just never the same.
Did he wear number one?
I don't know what number he wore. I do not remember his jersey number, but
I know Schmidt wore 29.
Remember, Schmidt came into the playoffs, but he had that great game in St. Louis where he was just dealing. Hit the game one against the Marlins where he shut them out. That's sad, actually. He didn't get the pitch again in that series. 9 shutout innings, 3 hits. And then they had Sidney Ponson.
The Australian.
They traded at
from
midseason
the Baltimore Orioles.
And he ended up going back to Baltimore.
God, Sidney Ponson.
You see my see my Orioles though? P.T. Higgins, 8
You
right
see my Orioles?
They're coming to town next week.
You see my Orioles?
Orioles are coming to town next week.
Halloween matchup, Giants Orioles.
I gotta go to that Sunday game afternoon, 1:00. Trying to see if I can get some freebies for that one. Go see the O's. Gabe Kapler moments here on the Morning Roast on 95.
So I remember a game in Wrigley, and I wish I could find it or what year it was, but Schmidt went 140 pitches and struck out a zillion guys, and JT Snow made a catch over the shoulder, diving down the first base right field line. It's one of the greatest plays in JT Snow's career.
I think that may have been the same game.
Which one?
That game that you're talking about where JT Snow made 3 plays that game.
Yes.
From first base, and he was putting on a clinic, and it happened in
Did he
the
have
first
a throw
4 innings.
in that game?
He had a throw. He had a pick. I mean, he was doing everything in that game. Everything.
Oh, God, JT was so sick. I think we've forgotten how great. I think he's the best defensive first baseman of all time, but I'm so jaded. But
I'm not going to go there.
He was so good.
He was good.
God, he was so good.
It was 2004, May 18th. Giants beat the Cubs 1-0. Schmidt struck out 13 and walked 1.
How many pitches?
144 pitches, 92 for strikes.
Wow.
Boy, we have a sickness.
Bonte, regret saying you ain't spending a dime on the Giants Conrad Arenas. I didn't spend a dime on the Philly game. Probably go get some freebies for the Orioles game, too.
Speaking of Crawford, what is the moment you think of for Crawford? Is it the grand slam against the Pirates? Is it the double play with Joe Panic?
That's everybody's. I would say I'm going to go with a different moment. Him setting the tone in Game 4 against Cincinnati. He had a big series. But the Pittsburgh one, that's number one. All right.
I think the double play with him and Panic is all time.
We got the skip, man. We got Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler. Oh, wow. Siri's asking me about the Pirates. What the heck is going on here? Anyway, Gabe Kapler, manager for the Giants. They're hot right now. I know they had a setback yesterday in Minnesota. Check out the Brewers for the start of a 4-game series today. And Skip, welcome back to the Morning Roast. Joe Shaskin, the Butcher, Bonte Hill. Before we get into baseball, we see you on Instagram, and you're cooking up some mean steaks. You're out in the wilderness. You're frying things here. Your steak game, was that a priority for you this offseason to pick up your steak game on how to cook a steak?
I feel like my game was pretty strong on that front before the offseason, and I appreciate you noticing. But it's one of my sincere talents. I can cook a steak. I'd be happy to show you guys at some point if you wanted to come over for a barbecue at some point.
I'm 100% in. I mean, the name's Butcher Boy because I was a butcher. My favorite cut is the Chateaubriand. So what's yours?
Probably a ribeye or a strip. I just like either of those cuts with the strip's got the fat around the edges and the ribeye, the marbling throughout, but I like both of them. I just want that good savory, fatty taste.
So what do you think about the seasoning? Do you go heavy? Are you heavy on the seasoning? Are you light on the seasoning? Because I noticed a couple times you just showed us some stuff. I'm like, maybe you need a little more garlic salt on that. Well, what do you think? What's your take on that one?
I definitely don't mess with garlic salt, but I'm big on just like a nice coarse sea salt as a rub. I'll use any kind of salt really, and a little bit of pepper. And sometimes I won't even go pepper. Sometimes it's just salt for me, but that's plenty because. Again, the flavor is all in the fat.
Yeah,
no doubt, no doubt. What about Milwaukee? It's a good food town. Are you getting a brat? Does Gabe Kapler go bratwurst? What's going on up there in Milwaukee?
I won't say no. I'll tell you that. There's a good brat with some sauerkraut, maybe a little spicy brown mustard. I'm into it. We're at the ballpark now. I'm actually just walking in right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it today, but. Now that you guys mention it, it sounded tasty.
Yeah, I like it. I've coached a Little League team, and I watch all these Kai Correa videos that you guys have on YouTube about defensive training, and he's really good. I mean, it's really informative, and it's easy to kind of pick some things away and try to utilize them for our Little League team. So thank you guys for posting those. But secondarily, like, heading into the year, I was thinking, like, defense for this team, I don't know, man. It was pretty bad last year, and now we got the shift. And then you look up a couple months in, and I'm like, well, Lamont looks great at first base. Didn't see that coming. Estrada's made huge strides at second. J.D. Davis looks incredible at third. Casey Schmidt obviously has got an elite glove. Was that something you guys really prioritized this offseason, was being a better defensive team?
Yeah, I think so. And all of the players that you mentioned have taken nice steps forward. I think our outfielders have done a nice job as well.
Yeah.
Michael Conforto and Haniger, while they're not Gold Glove elite defenders, they really stabilize things for us. Mike Yastrzemski in center field does a nice job. And then we have a guy on our roster now, Bryce Johnson, who can go out there and play an above average center field. One infielder that you didn't mention was Brett Wisely. And I think we're kind of, it's hard not to get distracted by yesterday's game where we played a sloppy defensive game. We have to be better than that. But for the most part, Wisely's really shined both at second base and center field, and every time Bryce Johnson has been out there, he's done a good job for us as well. So I think our defense is just more stable than it has been in years past. And to answer your question directly, yes, it was a pretty big point of emphasis for us in the offseason and in spring training this year.
Gabe Kapler, manager of the San Francisco Giants, here on the morning, also on 95.7 The Game, also a longtime player, won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox. Gabe, coming into the season, a lot was made about the pitch clock and the lack of shifting. So far through 49 games, what's your take on the pitch clock?
I really like it. I think it's sped up the game. I think the brand of baseball is quicker. To be very selfish, I like getting home a half an hour early or so.
Us too.
After games, it means a half an hour more sleep. I'll take that all day, every day.
Yes, sir.
But I think things feel. The game feels like it's being played with slightly more urgency, which I really like right now. I'm into it. How about you guys?
I love it.
Love it. Well, we work at 6 a.m, so we can go to sleep at 9:15, and I could get an extra 30 minutes, and then, I just love it. Like you said, the urgency, it feels like it's a lot more intensity. Guys are just getting in that box, they're swinging, pitchers just throwing. I love the pitch clock. Love it.
Yeah, I think I read some of Buster's quotes, actually, a couple of days ago. I think he was talking about how in the past, when he's been at home with his family and watching games, he feels like he can go do something between pitches, and now he feels like if he walks away or turns away for a second, he might miss something, which I think is exactly the feeling we want Major League Baseball fans to have. Like every pitch that happens is a chance for some action. It's going to be some action on the bases, but you don't want to turn away for too long because you might miss something. So I thought Buster articulated that well.
And also, like, there's the television viewing experience. When we went to the game, my wife, who had season tickets before we even got married, she was like, what I like about it is I know when the ball's going to get put into play, so I can look over. And so even though she's not as diehard, she's like casually watching, it gives her an opportunity to like focus on when the ball's going to be put in play, almost like a shot clock or a play clock in the NFL. So I think it's hitting on all cylinders here.
Yeah, it's like a cadence and a rhythm.
Yep.
I totally understand what you're saying. I think you're right on.
Yeah. I'm looking at Casey Schmidt here, and there's been so much made about, the development of young guys. And, well, you guys have developed some young guys. Estrada's a young guy who you've developed. Logan Webb you've developed. Doval. But it feels like Casey has just breathed life into the team. And I know it's more nuanced than that. But when you guys brought him up, did you know he was going to be this good?
No, I mean, look, we knew that he was going to be a quality defender at third base. We knew that he had a chance and continues to have a chance to be a plus defender at shortstop and second base. We knew that he had really good bat-to-ball skills. So he has a good feel for where the sweet spot on the barrel is, which isn't something that you say about everybody. So he has nice eye-hand coordination. And the one area that we think may be something that he just has to challenge himself to be better at is pitch selection. It's deciding which pitches to go after. And we never want to take away that young, aggressive intensity that he has, where he feels like he can hit any pitch and hit it hard. We want to encourage that. And at the same time, we just want to shrink the zone in which he swings just a tiny bit. And I think if he's able to make that small adjustment, he's going to be a really good hitter for a really long time and has a chance to be a top-of-the-league style of defender at third base and maybe even at shortstop and second as well.
Well said, Kat. Well said. 2021 NL Manager of the Year, World Series champion 04 when he was a player. Gabe Kapler here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. So Schmidt's getting a lot of headlines. Crawford Haniger's coming around. They're getting a lot of headlines. J.D. Davis has had a spectacular start to his season. But a guy that nobody talks about is Tyro Estrada, it feels like. And watching him pick it as well as handle the bat, I think he's on his way to an all-star game. We'll get to Camilo Doval in just a second. But Tyro Estrada has been rock steady, not just for this season, but even last year. And I think his last season, despite the struggles you guys had as a team, his season it flew under the radar, Cap.
No, I think that's very well said. And why do you think he doesn't get a lot of attention? Because I think he's been a winning player now for us for several years. I think the statistics will tell you that he's one of the top 25 players in baseball right now. So why do you think he's not as popular as he might otherwise be?
Shaq's got to let you get in here. I was going to say maybe he needs to cook more snacks on IG or something to get our attention. I don't know
what it is? You know what it is? Because I think people, they acquired him from the Yankees and, he's already 26 and blah, blah, blah. Like, I watched him every day last year and I was like, okay, him and Wilmer were the two most impactful players last year if you're watching day in and day out. And it was an adventure at times at second base, but this dude just makes plays. And he's the kind of guy, I think, as the game evolves to more speed and you're seeing more just like sense of urgency and playing multiple positions, like he checks off all those boxes. And then in our ballpark, he's a great gap hitter. Like I just love Estrada. I think he's a really good ball player.
Why do you think he's not getting enough love? Just because
I don't know. I don't know. We're obsessed with the home run, I think. I like guys who put the ball in play.
I was going to say, he can take you deep, too. And, by the way, I think you guys are alluding to it, so I'm not saying anything you don't know, but he's one of the better base stealers around the game as well. So he does have that all-around game going for him. If I were to put my finger on why he might not get the type of exposure or love that he deserves based on his play, it's because he's a super quiet individual. He doesn't say much, and obviously Spanish is his native language, so we don't get to know his personality. But people inside the clubhouse think the world of him, think he's like one of the best teammates out there, think he's funny and sharp, but it's hard from the outside to get to know a player like that. So that's sort of up to us in the community to talk about the great dude that Tyro is and try to get him some exposure because he's certainly deserving of it with his play, and he's a top-notch individual, so why not?
I think he's playing at an all-star level this year at second base for you guys. And speaking of which, Camilo Doval, he's got swagger. Woo. He's loud with the ice in his ears, the ice around his neck, but he's actually been dealing in the back end. 13 saves. I think he's one of the premier closers of baseball right now. And, I get there's control issues at times here, but Camilo Doval, man, has stepped up. You guys have put the ball in his hands in the ninth inning. I think it's no doubt, man, he's one of the premier closers in the game, and he's headed to the Midsummer Classic.
I think you're right on there as well. And he's become very, very durable. And one thing you guys might not see, but I think is worth noting is he wants the ball all the time. So if he's pitched 2 games in a row, you know how it goes around baseball. Most teams don't like to pitch their pitchers 3 games in a row. Like the back-to-back-to-back thing is something that teams avoid, and I understand why. But if he's gone 2 games in a row and he's thrown 20 pitches in each of those games, and there's a safe situation, he wants the ball. And I really respect that. He bounces back. All of the accolades he's deserving of. Obviously, throws really hard. The slider's nasty. He's got the sinker cutter combination. But I think the thing that people don't see about Camilo is that he is just incredibly, incredibly physical and durable, and I think we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. And there's the other night, as we're like talking synergy here with the closers, is Patrick Bailey. I mean, he made a stop the other night that you just either have it or you don't. I mean, it was an incredible stop back there. I really like what I've seen from him. I know it's a work in progress. He's probably got a long way to go with things that you guys are working on, but there's some really nice things that he does behind the plate instinctually. I love Patrick Bailey's glove and his feel with the with the pitching staff right now. Can you kind of elaborate on what you're seeing from the young man, Patrick Bailey?
Well, you guys have alluded to it this entire show. Like, we made a commitment. We're continuing to make a commitment to prioritize defense. And Pat Bailey is just like all young players, like Casey Schmidt is, like Tyro Estrada is, like Camilo Doval is a work in progress. So there are going to be bumps and bruises along the way. But the foundation, the thing that is going to always raise his floor, is his defensive ability. And he frames very well. He keeps pitches in the zone strikes. He'll get you those pitches at the edges. He can throw. He can throw from multiple angles, over the top, and a little bit sidearm to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. And he blocks, as you mentioned. And the blocking is something that we're paying close attention to because, as you know, with guys like Camilo Doval, guys like Tyler Rogers, these nastier dudes from different arm angles, Ryan Walker might fall into that category as well. They are depending on their catchers to protect them. They want to know that they can rip a nasty off-speed pitch in the dirt, and that ball is not going to go to the backstop. So Pat is a guy that can block and protect the pitching staff, and I think that's one more reason to love him.
You know, on that same catching note, and this might get a little too nerdy, so if you think I'm too nerdy on this one, I apologize in advance. But like the one leg down thing for the catchers, obviously it's not the way that I was taught growing up, but I'm open-minded, and I want to know, like, what's the thought process behind that? Is that for framing the low and outside pitch? Why is the one leg down thing something that you guys seem to be teaching some of these guys?
Well, I don't think it's for everybody, A. And B, I think it has a lot to do with stabilization. It just puts your body in a position where the glove can be in the center of your body and you can be very, very quiet. It does, at times, make it more challenging to block balls, and sometimes it makes it challenging to get off a good throw. And we've seen that from time to time with Joey Bart, by the way, where he's in a one-knee down position and he doesn't get a throw off because he's looking to really frame and hold that pitch, which is important, right? Because you know that a swing count, a count that goes from 1-1 to 1-2 on the batter may be the most important thing that you can do in that moment, because it's less likely that you're going to throw the runner out. But if you're able to get that call, it puts the hitter in a very uncomfortable position. By the way, I'm not advocating for only a knee down setup for a catcher. But there are some catchers who can be in a knee down position and make great throws. Joey is one of those physical guys who, if his knee is down, he can throw from that position and make good throws from that position. Yeah. So I do think there's a compromise in here between being a great receiver, framing pitches well, and being able to block and throw. And those are things that our catching coach, Craig Albernaz, is right on top of. He's making those calculations, and we trust him to make those decisions with our catchers.
Yeah, no, I really like that elaboration. Thank you for that. The defense, obviously, was a point of emphasis. Was that a shift organizationally, or was that something that maybe we just haven't seen some of the younger guys come through the system that are more defensive-oriented? Because it does feel very dramatically different than the last couple of years.
I think it's a combination of those things. I wouldn't say it's our organizational philosophy about how we acquire players. We want players to be good on both sides of the ball. I think this push has a lot to do with how our roster is put together. We have really good starting pitching. Those starting pitchers like Alex Cobb and Logan Webb and Anthony DeSclafani and Alex Wood, these are guys that put the ball on the ground. If we're going to have pitchers like that, we're going to need to protect those pitchers. We need to catch the ball. We need to convert ground balls into outs. I think we all recognize that. Now, the addition of players like Casey Schmidt and Patrick Bailey, to some degree or another, Tyro Estrada, the work that you mentioned that Lamont Wade Jr. is doing, these are development things, right? These guys have specific skills, and then we have to bring the best out of them. That's the job of a major league coaching staff, is to have those guys improve while they're on the dirt or on the grass. And we're pretty keenly focused on that, and we have been for quite some time. And in the past, we may not have gotten all the way there. This year, I think we're doing a better job.
Let me ask you this, Kat, because we're talking to Gabe Kapler here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. There was a lot made this offseason. I mean, we went crazy on this show when obviously the Judge deal didn't go through and the Correa deal and all that's happened. And I know we've all made it, wish Correa best of luck or whatnot, and Judge chose to stay with the Yankees, and we all understand that. But it felt like a lot of juice with the Giants was lost. A lot of buzz about the team was lost. Now at the Yard, as you guys get hot here, and you get Casey Schmidt up, you get Patrick Bailey up, and a lot of us have been waiting for some of the youngsters here. Do you feel like some of the buzz is coming back to the Yard, especially on that last homestand?
I will say that I think nothing excites fans like homegrown players. Yeah. I think everybody respects and appreciates big-name free agents. It's nice when I was in Philadelphia when Bryce Harper came to town, and, man, that was a huge boost to the city. And, you know, as we brought in some smaller name free agents, but some really good players, that's brought some good energy to the city. But there's nothing like when a player comes up and performs and the city's like, man, we might have this guy for the next 10 years and he might be a cornerstone for us. And we didn't have to spend several $100 million to get him. We signed him out of the draft, and he was developed by our player development system. I think that makes everybody feel pretty warm and fuzzy. And I think that's what we're seeing with guys like Casey and Camilo and certainly like Pat Bailey. And we have some guys that have got to the AAA level that are also promising. Luis Matos is doing a nice job since he's been there. I think Kyle Harrison's last performance speaks volumes for who he might be down the road. So I think we're trending in the right direction as it relates to developing and advancing young players, and I think that couldn't be more exciting for us.
Because it's obviously here in this market, we get up for these games, and I know you've been to a lot of Niner games. I'm seeing you wear Trent Williams jerseys, and you go down to I seen you sipping. Now I've never seen anybody, Cap. You're one of one. Because I'm not gonna lie, man. I saw you sitting courtside with a glass of wine. I said, man, I don't think I've seen a dude sip a glass of wine while watching some hoops, man. But do you, Cap? Man, I'm not mad at you. You pulled it off. You pulled it off. But
no, that wasn't wine though. Let's make sure that we have the record straight.
What was
that? Was whiskey.
Oh, whiskey.
Was that whiskey?
What's your brand?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was whiskey.
I mean, I guess it might have. I guess it might have been. I've been to a couple of games, and maybe one was whiskey, maybe one was wine. You might be right. I could be off.
Right. No, I remember I saw the red stuff. I was like, I know my whiskey, Cap. I know a little bit about whiskey, but I saw you there and you shook hands. But seriously, because we talk about this all the time on this show about the buzz, and you guys seeing the buzz that the Warriors are getting with all the homegrown players and the titles, excited. And the Niners fans are flocking down to Levi's. And I know I know Larry Bear. I know that organization, and there was magic at Oracle Park, and you guys displayed that in 2021. So recapturing that magic there, I think it feels like there's something turning here with you guys as you guys had that last homestand, sweeping the Phillies and winning 2 or 3 against the scrappy Marlins club. It just feels like some of the buzz is starting to come back.
I feel you. I definitely want that to be the case. My job is always to kind of stay even and not get too high or too low. Like even at the beginning of the season, when we were struggling. My job and the job of our coaching staff is to be steady and even and not get too low during those times. Now during this time, I also want us to be steady and even and focus on development. So here we are at the ballpark at Miller Park, getting ready to play the Brewers here coming up in several hours, and we want to be focused on tonight's game. So happy with the way things have gone over the course of the last 10 games or so, but have a lot of work to do and want to stay focused on that.
2 quick points on the way out the door here, Coach. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. But I got to tell you, after the game, I know things can go crazy and stuff. You took the time, you took some photos with some of my little leaguers a couple of weeks back. You probably didn't even remember it. It made their year. I cannot thank you enough for just a quick little 15 seconds of boom, popping in there and taking photos with them. Thank you so much. And then the second thing, you're a big rap guy. I mean, we know this. I'm a big music guy. Bonte, not so much. He didn't even know who Diana Ross was.
No. I had a brain fart. Cap.
Regardless. So, whenever I'm feeling low, there are certain songs that I'll put in. So I want to ask you right now. The choice is, okay, Pac or Biggie? Who are you going with?
It's Pac for me. That's really just about my coming of age years and feeling his passion and his intensity. I can own that. I think Biggie's a better lyricist.
Okay.
I think he's a better writer, generally speaking. But I don't think there was a more passionate performer than Tupac, or a deeper thinker than Tupac, and I just can't believe that he was mid-20s.
Yeah.
That always blows my mind.
What?
So that would be my choice, but that doesn't mean that I don't think Ready to Die wasn't maybe one of the top 3 albums of all time.
No, it was a masterpiece. Who are you bumping right now?
Yeah, what are you bumping?
A lot of King Push. I feel like speaking of lyricists, like one of the more underrated, Pusha T, one of the more underrated artists over the course of the last 25 years or so. Still listening to like more modern rappers like Earl Sweatshirt, Vince Staples are both on my list. A$AP Rocky. But when I go back to my classics, it's still Eric B and Rakim, and then the rappers that are kind of in the middle, Lil Wayne, and the list goes on and on. I guess I would also say I know that I've posted a lot and talked a lot about hip hop because I grew up on it, but also like all other kinds of music too.
So let me ask you that, Coach. Let me ask you, because like there's certain, like when I hear Little Bird from Bob Marley or Redemption song, like I stop in my tracks. Huey Lewis, The Power of Love. Like there's certain songs. What's a song off the top of your head, can be anything, that just stops you in your tracks and it resets you and you're feeling optimistic again?
You know what's interesting? Like I understand you kind of like put me on the spot. Like
I know. I'm sorry.
Song. I think from my standpoint, there's so many of those. I'm going back and listening to Freaky Styley right now, which is the Red Hot Chili Peppers' second record, and it was like very much funk punk, and it's much different than their later records. And I think a part of that has to do with the fact that Anthony Kiedis and probably several members of their band at the time were just perpetually high, and you kind of see that coming out in their art. And I'm not advocating for that, by the way. I'm not endorsing.
No, we get it.
I was just like part of their art at the time, and so right now, like a lot of the tracks on that record will kind of put me in a good mood because they're really upbeat.
We have a segment called Pandora's Box, Cap, where they quiz me on songs and music, and let me tell you,
he's so bad.
Your boy, I'm a sports nerd. I'm not a music nerd. I've proven that. So what you're saying right there just flew over my head. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm a music nerd, so I should be. I would want to be on somebody's music radio show, but I'm also down to talk about sports all day too.
Yeah. You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah, you are.
Gabe, you're a Renaissance man.
And we'll hold you to the barbecue.
You like a good steak, lightly seasoned, a ribeye, and you like good music.
We'll hold
There's nothing wrong with that.
We'll hold him accountable.
Not lightly seasoned. I'm good with a little heavy seasoning. It can be salt and pepper, but like seasoned well doesn't mean like exotic seasoning.
Yes.
It just means enough.
Yes.
No doubt.
Yes.
No doubt. Well, Cap, thanks for the time. I know we got to run. We appreciate the 25 minutes.
Keep the boys
Best of
rolling.
luck. You guys are rolling right now. Tough 4-game series in Milwaukee. You guys have had some classics with the Brewers over the last 3 years. So this will be a fun series up there in Milwaukee.
And we keep facing Corbin Burns.
Yeah, I know. We can't get away from him. He's pretty good.
No doubt. Cap, good luck in Milwaukee, man. Thanks for the time today.
Enjoyed it. Talk later.
Anytime. Gabe Kapler, manager of the Giants, as we got to keep it moving.